A chaotic start on Mirage, but the Swedes managed to rewrite history. It may have been OG's map pick, but it falls the way of Fnatic. And now all that separates them from the upper bracket in the playoffs is Inferno. Of course, we'll be jumping over to map 2 very, very shortly. But first, on hand to break it all down with me, Maui Snake and Maniac. And I think we need to start talking about how Fnatic managed to do this, Maniac. You know, we've historically seen them struggling to take OG down on this map. So did you notice any huge changes for the Fnatic side coming into this?
I mean, the first half was pretty much a bis repetita of the last time these two teams met on Mirage. We could see OG really running the show on their T side. But Fnatic, when they move on to their offense, that's when the individuals really showed up. JW, a couple of numbers to throw out there. Last time these two teams met, 12 kills for JW. He had 25 in that game. He was instrumental. He was creating space. He was turning around clutches. Him and Flusha had a couple of moments that were crazy. We're going to talk about it a bit later. Opening kills as well. Brolin doing as good as he always does. 7 for 1. This guy is all over the place. I just think that Fnatic, when they were on the offense, they managed to put pressure on OG time and time again. They never were able to have the double AWP. They won a couple of key clutches, and so they finally won Mirage.
Yeah, and I think we should start to delve into that T side a little bit more from the side of Fnatic, because Maui, I know you had a particular round that you wanted to be breaking down from them.
Yeah, sure. So we could just get into the stats helix, I suppose. This is a round 9-9 swing round. Very important for both of these teams. And look at how it starts here at the A ramp. Golden just getting picked. A little bit unfortunate for him, but let's just keep watching here as we move on forward. This is still in OG's control. And as we still proceed, it'll actually continue to be in their control. Brawlin dies as well, but this, gotta give it chef's kiss for Fnatic as this round plays out, because everything is looking like it's totally in OG's control here. Minute 20 left on the clock. You know that Fnatic's going to be running it down. They're just taking this mid control, and JW here slots himself into the window, just kind of hangs out at the beginning here, and really just takes his time with this one. Crims actually did find LXDB in ladder, which is an important kill, because what it does allow is for JW here, jumps off the bench into the window here, and he's going to make a nice little play for himself. Issa in one of the toughest spots on the map. Elige has noted that this is a very uncomfortable spot for even him, but so Issa here really having to juggle these different positions out right there. And JW...
Oh, the timing.
Yeah, the timing right here between Valde and JW actually is just so, it's so rough for them.
But you're right. This is a key. That's one of these key tournament round I'm talking about. It's 9-9. That is the beginning of the second half. JW with that classic genius move and a little bit of timing helping him, completely resetting OG, turning around a 3 versus 5. I mean, we can play the if game, but what if OG were able to close that round cleanly with 5 men alive, double AWP coming up the next round? That would have been a completely different story. But Fnatic, in these moments, they found the key. They found that move that they needed.
And this is something that's going to be so crucial going into our second map, isn't it, Mary? Because the last 2 times we've seen these two teams face on Inferno, it's been 16-11 to the side of Fnatic. So if you're OG, what do you think they need to be switching up coming into this one?
Oh, you just can't give Fnatic too much respect. Even when you think you're comfortable in a 5v3 like that, you just need to make sure that you cover all of your bases. The way that JW was able to outplay Issa right there, find the timing, find the hole. It's what Fnatic's looking for in every single round, where even if the original plan doesn't go accordingly, they will have a backup plan, or an individual will step up, such as JW in a round such as that.
And I think we just need to take a little look at our B stream going on at the moment. I know Vince and Tom are keeping us up to date during that game, but Heroic managing to close this one out, Maniac, even though they started the game with such a deficit. I don't know what they did to turn that one around.
Well, I haven't seen the game, but you're right. Keeping an eye on the scoreline right here, it does look like G2 were in complete control. 8-2 on Overpass with all the money in the world. And Cadian, the man here on your screen, able to rally the troop and put together that crazy comeback. For the viewers as well, great to know that G2 are trying to include Overpass in their map pool right now. They've been shying away from it in a long time. Doesn't seem to pay off, but I do appreciate the effort.
Yeah, and of course they managed to close that one out 16-10 to the side of Heroic. But of course, it isn't all the action we have for you here. Fnatic impressing on the first map of this best of 3, and it's going to Inferno after this.
A scintillating Swedish performance on Mirage will suppress and silence OG, and now they have to battle back on Inferno. It's a map that Fnatic have been pretty damn good on recently, Tom.
Yep.
And you felt like if this was going to go 2-0 to Fnatic, there was a pretty good chance had they won the first map, and that's the exact situation we're currently sat in.
But that's the interesting thing, Vince. Something that has never happened before is about to happen. Because OG have never beaten Fnatic on Inferno, and Fnatic have never 2-0'd OG. So one of them has to happen, unless everybody disconnects from the server and I start crying, which also has never happened. So either way, we're good.
We'll have a first, Tom. I love that.
We'll
That's a really cool start. That's a really cool
Hope it's
start,
not
so.
option 3.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident it won't be, fortunately. So Fnatic on the T side, JW already up close. He's making so much space as they touched on the desk on Mirage, and it seems like he's not slowing down anytime soon. And now we're starting to see all the pieces of the puzzle come crashing against each other, but it's OG that remains standing. A little bit weakened, perhaps, but Fnatic certainly worse off on these trades. MBK whiffing so many bullets, finally gets it done with the last bullet in the magazine, and OG do take the pistol.
Yeah, solid start for them as well, because a lot of the time when we see these two teams play, Fnatic do a lot of the damage over on their T side. The last time they played, they managed 10 T-sided rounds. Now, with a pistol loss, that's quite a difficult task to try and achieve. Now, I'm not saying they're any slouch on the CT side either, but it will definitely be a good start for OG if they can get things rolling, because I think they know as well as us, that last map was meant to be their victory. That was meant to be them setting things up and having the option for the 2-0. This was almost their leeway. JW, he managed to dodge the second nade just about, but he's still left incredibly low. And interestingly, we see a lot of teams now still even forcing if the bomb doesn't go down. Fnatic are not one of them. That nade has also left Mantu very low. The flash is strong, but it doesn't quite catch Golden.
Doesn't quite catch him. At least Fnatic, though, do pick up the MP9. Valda using the smoke to hide behind MBKs, made the ground. In amongst all of that, they anticipated a full-on B rush. Wasn't quite true, but at least it was partially accurate. And MBK now cleans up the rest alongside Valda. That is 4 kills with MP9's money in the bank.
Yeah, money they're going to desperately need, in fact, because Fnatic have come in with that earlier purchase. It leaves them with a few pieces of utility missing, which can be a bit of a problem. In fact, you're even going to see Golden have to avoid flashbangs just to make sure that they actually have some Molotovs here, because, well, this is a map where the mollies really do play a pretty big part in a lot of the takes. For now, though, a fairly aggressive stance for Brolin. He catches a nade slightly, but nothing to really write home about. And interestingly, the players on Banana have actually held their HEs. Normally, we see them just almost thrown down the bottom of Banana in the early stages. Instead, they're using them once they know that players are there. Although still not a massive amount. That nade is going to do a lot of damage, though. And Flusher, he's caught that in his back pocket.
Only saving grace, I suppose, is it was Flusher alone on Banana as opposed to a fully clumped up Fnatic. But now they look to try and pressure middle. Brolan eats another grenade. So Shrapnel, the diet on the Swedes for the time being. I'll have to turn around and spit out some bullets, you feel, if they were to take this round away from OG, is effectively a bonus. And it could be a bonus brimming to the fullest with money as a reward come the end of this round. A quick rotation on OG. They send out Alexi onto the B side. They were thinking about taking Mantu off the A side of the map as well, but they decided against it last second. And with the bomb now traversing up middle, that could prove to be the correct call. Flusher waiting.
Oh,
The smoke to clear. Oh no. Oh no. 4 players headed over on the B site. This leaves only NBK alone. They've completely bitten down on this, maybe more than they could chew, but the bomb's gone down and NBK survives a little bit longer. Getting aggressive, using the mobility of that MP9 to good use. Had he have taken down the second player, that may have been good enough, and it still could be. 13 seconds left. They have to draw away one of these remaining Swedes to get the bomb planted, but look at the HP bars. Only JW is healthy. The rest of his team are struggling. The walking wounded. And OG, with those upgraded rifles now, with the AK and the M4 breathing down their necks, they have a kit in the hands of Alexi. They have a flashbang, but do they feasibly want to go for this? Perhaps not anymore. Flusher shows his hand, snapping away Alexi, and Valda's in an awkward spot. He wanted to back away, but he knows that Flusher is behind him, so he's kind of stuck in the apps, and he's hoping that Mantu can do the rest. In terms of the round, though, Tom, it's over. Fnatic will be successful to kick things off early on already. Inferno proving to be a little bit dodgy for OG. Valdo wants to try and deny any save players in Pit, but this is maybe where their lack of HP actually saves a couple of Fnatic players. And in the meanwhile, G2 are off to another great start, but we know how Overpass ended. Jesus.
All right, Kenny. Yeah, I'm not even excited. We'll wait and see until maybe like 16, 17 rounds of play. Then show me the scoreline, and I'll start to believe the G2 have got this one. Especially on a map that Heroic are very, very happy to play. I'm not going to get ahead of myself again. Learned my lesson. That round, though, there were so many small nuances that completely changed it. Like, MBK re-aggressing into the apartment seemed like a gift to him at the time. It's like, oh, there's nobody here. There's no way they're just all going to run through mid. Well, they did. And unfortunately, that was actually what changed the round, because there was a lot of damage done there from OG. And Fnatic, they actually survived that with 4 players alive. I don't think they even deserved to. The amount of damage that was done off utility from OG was very impressive. But now they've got to try and bounce straight back. Otherwise, this will be a much better start for Fnatic than probably should have happened after that last round.
Oh, no doubt at all. Like, the start to that round was dodgy. Again, Flusher, who was a player that got tagged down in Banana from one of the grenades that you were talking about, Tom, and it was Brolan who ate the other one. Now, if they're not up against MP9s and a better dosage of utility, I absolutely think they get finished off, as you were touching on there. So these are a couple things to look out for come the full rifle rounds on both sides. Fnatic switching up the pace, getting a little bit more aggressive, up in the face of OG. Molotov's put down. Mantu takes initiative, actually pushes in and gets 2 kills alongside Alexi and make it a 3rd as well. A beautiful bait and switch, crossfire, and OG looking good to take a potential 3-1. It's all about how much damage they can inflict now. Crims, who had a slow start on Mirage, at least perking up a little bit here, but still needs to go in for more frags, and he will miss out from MBK. 4 players remain on OG, standing against the informed Flusher, but he is low, he is weary, and he's about to find out that it's a stacked site. MBK getting 1. At least Flusher died before time. It could have got even more awkward, but OG off to a 3-1 start all the same.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is that saving that AK might have actually been more valuable in this circumstance. Like, he made that push with about 10 seconds left, and the bomb was nowhere near. So their money's in a weird spot now. If he saves, he probably has enough to drop a gun and bring his own AK through. Instead, well, we get this. It's not pretty. It's not something that Fnatic are going to be particularly happy about. And we'll see what they can do with it, because this isn't really OG off to a flying start. We have to wait and see if they can convert this one cleanly. And then, well, 4-1 up, money built, looking pretty good for them.
Indeed, they have 2 AKs as well, so even with that money, if they can keep control of both AKs, as you'd probably expect, bit of superior firepower coming up. A worrying statistic, albeit very early on in the game, is Brolan had about 3 ADR, I want to say. So over the duration of these last 4 rounds, he's not really had any impact. And considering that he wasn't necessarily required on the last map, it's actually 2 ADR. Wasn't really required on the last map. If JW and Flusher aren't having that performance and Brolan doesn't step up to the plate, could be in trouble. But of course, as I say that, JW threads the Deagle headshot into Mantu. And the pressure now on MBK and Issa as they are stuck in pit. Molotov is good. Buys up a little bit of time. They can change the trajectory of this aggression as the angle's starting to skew away for the CTs, but they don't fully push behind that Molotov, and so they're all clumped up in quad. That grenade could do chunks of damage, and Flusher has been eviscerated. MBK and Issa putting on a clinical performance on how to lock down pit. And there's no way forward for the Swedes. Good smoke put down, and it's a massacre. Excellent hold.
I do wonder if those smokes quite went to plan, or at least the way that they were hoping for, because I don't think that was meant to leave such a big gap for Issa to play around, unless they were hoping to isolate him out, which is also possible. I kind of think that might have meant to be a little bit deeper. It covers off both the pit as well, and then they can get the bomb down. Instead, it left a really awkward, almost crossfire spot for them to play around, and that helped out OG rather than Fnatic. Seems like for now, though, G2 in the other game are continuing on their form. Of course, that is over on the secondary stream, so you can always go and check that one out. Maybe while we have a tactical pause, because of course they're wonderful guys, but I think they've got too much hair. So that's my only real insult I've got for them. It's not really that much of an insult.
Too much bloody
They're
hair.
too good looking. There, it makes you feel bad. Whereas
Very
us,
handsome players over there. Yeah. Round dying down a little bit, which is just fine. It's Inferno, more tactically adept map. Rotations certainly important, but they are going to mix it up a little bit. However, I'm not sure they'll fully commit to this, judging from where the bomb is dropped down. Someone has to go pick this up. 2 players in middle, Brolan and Crims. Now make that just Brolan. Flusher straight through alongside JW, pushing the smoke because of course they do. And Alexi, who had a slow start to Mirage, already off to 5 kills, is now also being fragged out, putting Justice up and Mantu up against Fnatic. And I don't think they want any part of this round. Their economy will not allow them to do so. Fnatic looking good for a second.
I think these are just got to be the rounds for OG that you even if you watch them back in hindsight, you're just gonna be like, well, yeah, you just did something that I couldn't really predict. And if in future you try and predict that, you're gonna start playing bad Counter-Strike. You'll spend half the round just staring at smokes, like he'll come through eventually. Do what he did last time, and that's when they attach the straight jacket and you get locked up in a room. Trying to counter JW, it's something that's bad for your sanity. Now, they're trying to take control of the A site, clearing all of these angles to find these remaining 2. And while JW has found Mantu, not really in the spot that he was expecting. And I think now that he's so low on HP, both players from the CT side are going to be allowed to save, although the door has taken an absolute battering.
Classic, take the frustration out on the door. Knock it right down. Doesn't stop the fact that Fnatic do take their second round. Their economy was in no great shape to charge down and potentially lose 2 or 3 players. However, as you mentioned, Tom, with the save, here comes the buy alongside it. I completely agree as well. Like, sometimes you lose a round and you just got to take, your hands off the keyboard and the mouse. Say fair enough. You made a great read at the great time. Not necessarily our mistake. It's just one of those things. That's Counter-Strike. And go back into the next round and try and focus on the task at hand. JW behind the smoke again. Could be a flash into a peek. He actually just walked straight through there. And had Valda gone for a peek, he would probably have lost his life as a result. So a bit unfortunate on OG. But they do still take banana control. Nade back in. Does land on Alexi, and JW, the audacity to re-peek. And he also gets the reward, Tom. There's no justice in the world.
Oh, God. It's got to be frustrating. Alexi B, that's a nice effort. But again, you kind of look at this and go, I guess we just leave this round. The funny thing is, and this is something that's now happened 2 rounds in a row, I almost start to question if even Fnatic believe what they're doing is going to work. Because both times the bomb has been nowhere near JW when he's making these plays. So it's almost like JW's going, I'm going to make a play through the smoke. And Golden, like with the bomb, is just going, yeah, you make that play through the smoke, guys. If this goes wrong, we'll just go 8. Let's just see if it works. And to be fair, when he's playing this well, that is exactly how they should be playing the match, because it's just going to infuriate everybody on the opposing side. I will say though, if you're going for what Vince mentioned in the last round and destroying doors every time something like that happens, if you're playing versus Fnatic, you might as well have some sort of open plan house, just so that you don't have any doors left to destroy.
Make sure your table's made of oak, because you're probably going to punch a hole through it. Make sure you got some stress balls around. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that would hurt. Do you know what was really interesting? So there was this again, I'm going back to some of the stuff that happened in the Asia RMR. One of the teams qualified called Checkmate, a team that I quite like. They've got a youngster called Techno who stands in. Now, the reason he's standing in, because when they qualified, one of their players hit his desk so hard in celebration, he broke his arm.
Wait, there's so much wrong with that. He hit his desk in celebration.
I don't know the exact details, but he celebrated so much he broke his arm.
That's mental.
So they actually had this stand-in who was 16 years old and ended up being their best player. That's got to hurt.
jeez. Well, at the start of this round, certainly will be smarting as well, Tom. OG have lost the first 2 players right off the back, albeit it's a lack of a buy. They do have an AWP for Man 2, but it's more the lack of firepower and Velder. And just as I mentioned that, he gets an AK, and they've got it again now, yeah.
Unfortunately, so far the gamble stacks or the predictions they've had for where Fnatic are going to go have not been correct. Of course, it is a 50-50. You can't always get those right. If you did, I think people would start checking what your coach has been doing. But nonetheless, or if you have someone like Zona who's psychic. But either way, it is going to be Fnatic evening up the scoreline. A 4-4 after what was a decent start for OG. But as last time, Fnatic did really just show off on this T side. And the thing that's scary for me is the last time they played, I think there was a relative back and forth. If Mirage is anything to go by, Fnatic are just brewing with confidence. Yeah, and you have to remember, I think they only turned up to their boot camp the day before the tournament began. So if anything, I think it's going to be one of those classic Fnatic scenarios where they're just going to get better and better as the tournament goes on. And as we sort of mentioned, G2, they started off very strong, but a little bit of deja vu starting to come in as Heroic again, after getting a few buys on the board, are bringing things back. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is. Ask and ye shall receive. I do feel like there's an element of Golden, you know, just whispering into his microphone at the start of the round. Jesper, just go do your thing. And at this point, exactly, have no mercy.
It doesn't even need the microphone. They're next to each other. You can literally just go over to JW, just like massage his shoulders a little bit. And it's like, you see that smoke? I want you to use it. I want you to abuse it.
Like looking at Jesper and just winking at him, you know, like that's their way. Just a little.
Not even that.
Wink.
It's the finger across the throat.
Yeah,
classic. The classic.
We've been waiting a while, Tom, and now we have another full rifle on both teams. Fnatic in some pretty solid form. They're stringing rounds together, and Lexi has been forced out of position. It is at the cost of Golden and Brolan losing health, but this has lost his life. And that's a big pick this early in the round. They can start to force OG to go in for these desperation rotations, but Alexi stands his ground and gets 2, the second through the smoke, piercing the head of Flusher. That's one hell of a way to answer the call.
I think the flash was a little bit late for Golden. It looked foolish as he almost showed off while walking backwards into the smoke. That nade might actually kill off Brolan as well. Mantu, he gets his pick in the end. Now he needs to hold the line. Flick doesn't quite connect, but he's buying time nonetheless. Crims eventually puts him down in the gap in the smoke. JW, I'm sure that wasn't intentional, but he plays around it. He uses the situation to his advantage, as he has for the majority of the game. A double AWP 2v2 for Fnatic. It's pick play at its best, and Crims might be looking around for his rifle just in case. Initial shot missed, and now here's them getting closer, and we'll change things up a little bit. They do have kits available, but that's all the utility gone. Another missed shot as they get closer. But nonetheless, they're not actually gaining that much ground. Eventually, Crims puts down the first. Alexi B will get one, but he can't quite complete his triple. It will be 5-4 in favor of Fnatic. We're seeing the clutches go their way time and time again. A 2v3. And while Crims this time is the one leading the way.
Yeah, he saw him take an up shot and miss both players, and he's like, oh, screw this. Let me just get that Kalashnikov. That can do my work. I can go back into the office again. And it's put OG into a half buy. It's down to 950, but of course, round loss bonus is starting to mount up on OG. They have been on the receiving end of a bit of a battering here, Tom. It's been a bit of a seesaw of a half. Started well for OG, and now Fnatic certainly having the balance tip in their favor. Golden taking damage again, but even when Fnatic concede some HP to grenades, it never fully pushes them back. They still get aggressive, they still hold their ground, and OG have been able to deal with it.
I think that's the problem. I think OG have been playing relatively well. It's just that, again, we talk about Fnatic and this clutch capability. Like, these players, the second another man on their team goes down, the revenge is always ever so sweet. Again, these nades are going to be coming out. chipping away at the remaining players. I know who has the more utility damage. It has to be the side of OG. Expected, considering they're on the CT side. But all this really is in the early rounds is just Fnatic trying to bait them into rotations, like using a lot of their own smokes to try and push and prod this OG into making a mistake. Half the time, again, they don't even bother taking the bomb with them. They've just left it. And Brolin, he's going to fall on the other side of the map. They're starting their execution, and while Crim's currently running away from the site to try and go get the bomb back.
Oh, Alexi not too far off. Unfortunate. Yeah, absolutely. They haven't had the greatest control of the bomb so far, but they haven't been punished either. 13 seconds. But they'll be able to cross with the smoked up CT side without too much incident. There has been an AK retrieved on Man2. So a slight victory, I suppose, but Fnatic will be taking laps of the map if this continues in this form. OG can do little but sit into pit and to save. So yeah, I mean, Fnatic, they've been eating grenades, but in terms of bullets, they've been dispensing them a whole lot quicker and more accurate. Brolan's had a rough start. Again, we go back to the fact he wasn't really required on Mirage, and so far, even though he's down around, I think, 15 ADR or about that mark, it's fine. This team are doing the work for him.
I think the other thing as well that has to be taken into consideration on this map specifically, mainly on the T side, is that Brolin almost comes across to me as his own separate entity. Like, he will play A apartments almost every single round. He will poke, he will prod. And the whole point of him is to really just hold players in. And if they go for a late take into that A site, he's the one going in for the entry. So you'll see Brolin on the T side of this map having some pretty poor stats. That's absolutely fine. It's not really part of, well, it is a part of the main game plan, but him fragging is not necessarily a part of it. It's just an added bonus. Whereas on the CT side, if he's having a poor performance, that's more of a problem. Valde, he's had a rough time so far. I was going to say he finally wins the duel, and Golden just says, no. You don't get away. 3 and 5. Now, he was the star in the last map. Even though they lost, him and JW were going toe-to-toe in frags. He had a phenomenal T side. But the problem is, at the moment, he's just being caught out by really cheeky Fnatic plays. And I don't know. If it's me, I'm getting frustrated. I'm hoping for the Dane that he's not. And Golden is going to be taken out. The thing is, though, again, the player that's lost is not really part of the game plan. He was just used to hold on the other side of the map. And again, it looks like Fnatic plan to hit into A.
Yeah, even though they have a player advantage, OG, they will be at a 2v3 stacked against them. NBK, oh, that spray transfer is something sublime. And that puts them on the back foot, but Crims may not be done just yet. Still 45 seconds, but a heat-seeking grenade lands next to him, actually dinking Man2, but slightly through the wall, which keeps the AWP alive. And NBK goes back in again, 10 and 5 on the score. And OG, their first round in a while.
Another nice round from Nathan. He's having a pretty decent game. The thing is, they've avoided this pit play quite often now because OG have actually held pit better than anywhere else on the map. I think that's now 2 rounds where we've seen Fnatic push into the site with an advantage in terms of players, and each time they've lost it to both Issa and NBK holding the line. So good job from them. The problem has been this B pressure. They've got a lot of entry kills up the top of Banana, and then most of the time it's come down to Alexi B multi-fragging, which, sure, he has a couple of times, but their retakes, their afterplants have not been going anywhere near as well as they need to be if they're going to be having the majority of their players still stacking up on A. This round, in fact, I like this. OG, they're going to try and make a change. They're going to try and take control, but found it every time. He never survives these initial stages of the round. Sure, again, it's a trade, but that's not a problem for Fnatic. You've got rid of Valde. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, typically a 1-for-1 trade will favor the T's. It allows you to thinly spread the defenders, drop some of that utility alongside it. They still have 2 smokes, so they can execute onto either site without any issues. There's another smoke put down onto bottom Banana. This may afford Man2 the chance to rotate back over on A, so it's a timing play that they went for. Flashbang out. Alexi cannot hold on, and now Man2's rotation has to be cancelled. His vacation cut short, goes back in, taking down Brolan. 33 seconds. They can now re-rotate again. Golden must be dizzy from spinning back and forth this many times, and then BK holds the line for 1. Typically, these players have been in pit This off angle may catch them unaware, and indeed it does, as Crim spins around. Issa takes his head clean off, and then follows up onto Golden. 6 apiece, could not be closer.
I think OG have started to cotton onto what Fnatic are doing. Like, notice how even with the late smokes being thrown in towards this B site, neither Issa or MBK made a move. They just stuck to it. They thought, okay, they've rotated like 15 times. They just lost a player on that side of the map. Chances are either Mantu's going to be in trouble and we play for the retake, or we just wait for them to rotate. And it stopped working over the last couple of rounds. Valde, this is more like it. He's battling, he's brawling. And he hasn't gone down just yet, although I'm not going to be holding my breath. The nades always hit him right at the end. He is going to survive this. Both players coming off pretty poorly from this early battle. Golden on the other side, down to just 13 HP from peeking into A. In fact, Alexi B is going to throw in an incendiary and try and take some control back. MBK might be gone on A. Crims peeks in. He had the bomb. Risky, but it works.
It does work for the time being. Valda, on the aforementioned 32 low HP, is now the last bastion of hope. However, he snuck his way around the back. And with Golden's position, they may not anticipate that there's still a CT around here. So although he's low, he's a snake in the grass. Oh, he's giving his position away, and he hasn't even got a kill as a result. Scratch everything I just said. He at least holds on and nearly takes down JW, but JW with the fadeaway AK round. I was a bit worried for Valda for a second. He might walk into that Molotov and burn alive, but it doesn't really matter. Whichever way he went down and met his fate, Fnatic will take the lead one more time. So OG's mini comeback has been stalled, stymied, and they have to go back in for another buy. If they can save these 2 weapons, they likely will get their hands on one. But look at NBK and Valda's economy. It's in tatters.
I think this T side can almost be defined by Fnatic doing things that in Counter-Strike you probably shouldn't do. Like, let's put it this way, Vince. If you are someone at home who's thinking, I want to learn how to play like top tier Counter-Strike, don't copy what Fnatic are doing. Like, it is players running through smokes. Crims, as said, he wide peeks with the bomb. That's a big no-no if you're talking to any analyst in Counter-Strike. Should they wide peek with the bomb versus CT who's waiting for a peek? No. If you're Crims and you can win that duel, then maybe. And that's the thing. They've been winning these battles. I like this change from Valde, though. He's been getting wrecked on Banana. What's the way to change that? Don't go Banana, and he comes up with 3 kills. Big round from someone who's been silent thus far, and that could be the change that's necessary. Brolin, he may have 2 kills, but he also has 29 HP, and the AWP's going to be there to finish him off anyway. 7-7, OG keeping things equal, and that's put a smile on Valde's face for sure. I imagine up until this round, there might not have been one, but that was clean.
Oh, he's definitely turned that round upside down. And I would imagine he's probably spoke to Alexi before the round. He's like, please, Chief, please, coach, get me out of Banana. Let me attack it from a different angle. Let me have some impacts. I've just been getting naded out my boots up until this point. I like the aggression. They don't typically go aggressive on the CT side. We saw that on Mirage as well, so it really catches Fnatic off guard. They live by the fire, and indeed they die by it. And now Flusher spotted. However, he saw Valda. Much more aggressive Banana control. 3 plays to kick things off with flashes and smokes accompanying the push. Oh, that's an audacious play from Golden, and he gets punished. And that's what Tom was just touching on. Do not try this at home.
I feel like this needs the little warning video that you get before an episode of Jackass, because that's how I feel. It's like the stunts you're about to see are performed by trained professionals. Please do not try this at home. And if you do, well, you're probably going to end up in a lot of pain. Either way, Alexi B is in a good position, but Crims catches him on the edge of the smoke. And while something that we can say for sure, Vince, is the OG retakes, well, they've been anything but. They haven't been a retake. They've just been losing them. The afterplants from Fnatic have been superb in the majority of these situations. The clutch capability of this team have been fantastic. Can they give it a go in their last attempt? And
absorbing a lot of bullets on these retakes, but this time it's MBK that spits them out with venom onto JW. Flusher watching the cross. He goes down. It's all set up for Crims to shine, and he now tries to turn it back around again. The bomb being defused. Molotov put down. Will it be enough to stop the defusal? It's so very close, but they steal it in amongst all the action. Inferno living up to its name. Find out if Fnatic can convert after this break.
How hard can you go? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you go? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you go when the beat drop? How hard can you go? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you go? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you go when the beat drop? How hard can you go? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you go? How hard can you go? Go. How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you? How hard can you go? How hard can you go when the beat drop?
Through fire and brimstone, these two teams have been locked in combat. And OG actually lead coming through in the second half. Very surprising considering at one point, Tom, Fnatic strung 5 rounds together, and it was looking like they could actually steam away with the half. However, anybody's game with Fnatic 1-0 up.
We've got my favorite raid boss ever. We have the dual Beretta raid boss. I've only seen this once before. I was casting DreamHack Summer, and Keto aced the pistol round. Now, I'm not going to build it up that much, although I am hoping that Brolin absolutely wrecks everybody's face as they try to run around this corner, and if he doesn't, I will be bitterly disappointed.
Well, here we go, and, well, disappointment for Tom. Bit of an anticlimax, that one, bro. I'm
How
not gonna
could this
lie.
happen to me?
I can't believe you've done this.
Oh. Can we just end this round here? I kind of don't want to carry on with it anymore. Can we just say that that's a Fnatic loss because they didn't manage? Is someone else going to pick? Come on, someone has to pick up the Julies, right? Right? No, they picked up the P2. There's free dual Berettas, guys. Come on, that's like free ice cream or I don't know, free shoes you find on the street. Either way, Issa, is going to get himself an entry. It is going to be gold and boosted up over the top. This is currently reloading, but Alexi B, he checks the boost. Nice to see it. Something I haven't actually had to say before, but after watching Asian Counter-Strike, checking the boost has become something I don't see very often. JW, though, hello, he's back once again, trying to do more in the pistol rounds. A Molotov in his hands as well that he's retrieved. Crims alongside in the back corner, cleared. Nowhere for MBK to run to, and JW, he finds his son. He's walked into the open. The goal of this man, but I think he ran out of bullets. He needed it to retrieve that Glock. And now Crims, the last man standing, get in hand, and of course it's a triple shot burst. It's normally the hype man, but in this situation, just calm and collected.
Crims is spat out the snooze. It's time. He's woken up. He's getting into position. But JW, beautiful play. 3 kills and still losing. Like, absolutely maddening if you were on Fnatic, because they would have fought in that 2v1 that was their round. But what a play from Issa.
Well, I said, bear in mind, I think Issa had 0 bullets when that 2v1 started. Because he ran across to pick up his teammate's Glock when he died. So, yeah, there's no way they should have lost that. There was literally a moment in that battle where their opponent had no gun. And they still lost it. So, props to Issa. I'm sure he was internally screaming for joy. But I think in these sort of situations, they know how serious the moments can be. They're not going to be let off here by Fnatic. We saw a forced buy war at the start of the last map, and they've got to be careful not to let it happen again.
So much on the line. RMR, ESL points, money, bragging rights. Of course, we won't have an elimination. It will be one team moving across to the upper brackets and further along. As you said, Tom, I think you perfectly highlighted. It's basically like an extra lifeline. A get out of jail free card, if you will.
A 1-up.
Indeed. And both teams jockeying for position. Fnatic, although 2 rounds behind, we've already seen them make these buys stick multiple times over the last few days. So you cannot write them off, but they have given up B. Again, it's that classic stack site. If they push the other side, no problems. We'll just save. We'll come back in again next round. It's looking good for OG to pick up 10, though.
Well, yeah, and unless there's a brand new boost that Fnatic have found, which lets them see all the way from one side of the map to the other, which, you know, that would never happen.
Bomb has been planted.
I can't even finish that sentence. Yeah, you know, bring it back. But, yeah, unfortunately, this time it is just going to have to be the save. We will see them keep this into the next round. Probably, maybe invest into a smoke or 2. I think easily the most powerful piece of utility on this map, just being able to delay as much as humanly possible. For the T's, they actually have a fair few SMGs. So if anything, they kind of want to hunt a little bit here. It sounds weird because like Tom, they can just keep everything, build up their money. But if you're using a weapon that makes you $600 per kill, you want to kill someone with it. Issa, I'm not really sure why he's the one peeking. Out of all of the players, he's the last one you want to die. But I guess with all his teammates around him, it doesn't matter. And MBK, well, he's going to get himself an extra kill. It is interesting to me that it's sort of we talk about players who use niche weapons. For me, I don't know if it's the same for you. I always think of MBK and Chris J. They're also the only 2 players who use the MP7.
True. Yeah, both obviously scouting and known for their jump scouts in particular from MBK. So yeah, definitely 2 of those players that you look at. Been around the block a fair few times as well. Even back when these weapons simply were just very rarely used to any kind of effect. Alexi, shrapnel all over the place. 42 HP left. Oh, that's a decent nade in return. But this is basically where we were kind of touching on before. Fnatic don't save all 5, but they still do remain with 3, plus Kevlar, plus a bit of utility. So OG do need to be careful. This is why they're taking their sweet time to move up Banana, and they're not stacking all 5 players here either. When's
Flusher going to use it? Okay, he's cheating. I don't care. No, I like, who was it? It was Starix, I'm with you. You know what? I'm with you. I agree. He's definitely got something fish. He timed that nade spot on. He was like, no. Right, he's going to move into it exactly right. Either that or he is a clairvoyant. Like he is he will actually be able to read your palms and probably tell you they're sweaty, if anything. Nonetheless, 1 man only on the A site. that kill may have been absolute BS, but it is still going to be the round going the way of OG.
Indeed, it will be. They want to save these Kevlar again, just mitigate some of the expenses when coming through into the next round. Flusher getting up close to the P250, maybe looking for some exits. But with 2 SMGs still in play for OG, we're in a similar situation to what you said last time around, Tom, where I wouldn't be too surprised once they're relatively comfortable knowing that all the little angles for potential Ninja have been covered, that they will start to move some of those SMGs ahead. Now, if Crims could put this MAC-10 to use, which he can't, it would have been a nice little bonus of money going through into the next one. Flush has now been spotted. MAC-10 and MP7 will be in hot pursuit, and it's the MP7 that lays him to rest, leaving Golden, last man. Ooh, gets denied 2 kills because of the bomb and actually picks up a MAC-10 alongside it. Whether you'll keep it, I'm not too sure. It's not really ideal for defending, especially when you want rifles, but let's have a look.
The only reason Golden would keep this is if he has something specific in mind, which he might. Like, it gives them a good bonus. It also means that going into a future round, he can drop an AWP. So I imagine there's a specific strat that if they manage to retrieve an SMG, Golden will utilize it for that reason. And we've seen a lot of utility being expended early into Banana. I do wonder if they're going to try and take control. JW's just been wrecked. The full firing squad will be taking him down. And you can see Banana control is the idea. So interestingly, they're not actually taking full control of it. The nades have done a hell of a lot of damage onto Valde once again. Seems to be pretty much the unluckiest player in the server at the moment. Maybe not. Crims with the timing. Now, this is where Brolin is at his deadliest. Facing him in the pit is a risk. Golden's just going to spam through the smoke. He goes back through. He might have a screw loose. He's wanting to face off against him with the MAC-10. Alexi B trying to fight with the Glock. And, well, I mentioned Brolin in the pit. They didn't even get to pit.
Carved out before they even made a path. Now, Valde maybe can get the drop. He's going the long way around. Flusher already has an inclination that this is a possibility, so he can hide in library. Still 40 seconds allocated to OG. And the Dane, who has been very unfortunate on this CT side in particular, with the timing, the grenades, just everything working against him, has a chance to take control of the situation. It's a huge ask, though. HP doesn't favor him, weaponry doesn't favor him, and neither does the bullet from Flush's M4. 11-8, and Fnatic stealing away another round that really should never have gone their way.
You just got to talk about this team and smokes at this point. That was a multitude of kills and damage coming straight through the smoke. Oh dear. Now it's Valde's actually ended up on a MAC-10, so definitely not ideal. Still, OG are in the lead, and a victory here would be huge.
Oof. Second best against the young Swede. As you highlighted before, Tom, his T-side performances often go under the radar. He's not designated to be the heavy hitter or top fragger, but on CT, he's definitely a player you look to have a much bigger impact. And so far, so good. But it may be so what if Fnatic can't convert from this player advantage, especially with their economy down in the doldrums again. OG with a lead, breathing down their necks. But OG's economy, in turn, also a little bit strained. So this could effectively be a 2-for-1. Either OG extending their lead and ripping towards the finish line, or the Swedes pulling them back and making this way too close for comfort. Flashbang is good. Flusher darts back and calls for a rotation for Crims.
He's got no nades, so they can't just commit to this one-man setup. He's got no way to slow them down other than bullets, which can be a pretty effective deterrent. In fact, all 3 players who are currently on that side of the map have a single flash between them. There is the single flash. It's going to leave a lot of the blind, and actually Golden, he's going to help capitalize. Flusher even spamming his own teammate through the smoke. He's going to help Valde along the way. Valde runs through, though. He didn't expect Crims to be here. There's only a matter of seconds left for them to get the bomb down, but the spam through is not quite going to do enough. It leaves them in a 2v3. Issa, Mantu, time to clutch.
Flusher does not discriminate teammates, enemies, they're all the same. And now Mantu and Issa, between the two of them, not able to reach the 100 HP mark. Do have good positions. Mantu with the first 12 kills to his name, and he's looking for more. Can use that box as cover. They may not anticipate Issa around the corner of Pool, but they do actually pre-fire him. And with both players on kits, it needs to be Mantu flawless, impeccable with his aim. He can't get it done, but they come off the bomb. Is there going to be enough time for the defuse? It's going to be cutting incredibly close, but they do. Just in the nick of time, the Swedes pounce. And that 2-for-1 I was mentioning does start to come up. But with a bomb plant, Tom, there are options available. And OG call a timeout to get themselves in shape.
I don't know if there was a late flash or if Valde just thought that they killed everybody. But that was definitely the moment that let things slip away. Interesting. 1v4s than JW with 7. To be fair, if I'm talking about like crazy clutches, I feel like I do slightly give it over to Flusher. I think JW isn't alive at end of the rounds most of the time.
Right, yeah.
But if he's doing something, it's not going to be a 1v something because he's probably one of the 4 players that died earlier in the round. So I like the stat, but I'm not necessarily surprised by it. So you're gonna have to try a little bit harder if you want to get me properly shocked.
Oh, well, here's the rush. Maybe they can shock you yet. Tom, MBK with 2 from the depth with the Tech 9. Gets naded, but considering this was full pistols and effectively a half by rush, it's yielded so much in return. JW and Crims both getting smacked up through the smoke. One from a HE, one from bullets. Good counter grenades, but it's too late. The tactical nuke has landed, but the bomb already planted down. Fnatic now need to walk over the ruins of the site that once was theirs, under their control. Valda fortunately had a smoke. He can extinguish that Molotov. It puts a bit more pressure on Broland, but he will dispatch with haste. Immaculate spray with the M4. The bomb is being defused. Mantu trying to line them up with a Tech 9, but they perfectly body block. Bodyguard, safeguard the defusal, and although Mantu does put down Brolan and keeps himself alive, Fnatic lost multiple players. They have to replenish.
This was really sick from MBK. In fact, does it just before he's nuked out of the round. But this is sort of what I mentioned. Like Brolan, I'm fairly certain, has already got more kills in the second half than he did the first. Now, a lot of that hasn't even been in his signature position. I think it's just comfort. And, well, the role that he's playing is now starting to come to fruition. Fnatic, they had a decent T-half, but this CT side where things are starting to build, they've actually managed to bypass a lot of the spam, which this is going to make things a bit awkward for Issa. He's been spotted. They know he's here. Brolan, in fact, going to go for the re-peek. Issa's prepared for it, but it's an awkward battle. And Brolan comes out on top. Now the CT side, well, I was going to say they retreated, but JW is actually still hanging around. And for OG, they've realized, okay, that's 3 players in the apartment. By basic math, there can only be 2 on the B side, but without a fast enough take, they're actually just going to have to fall off it.
Mate, I mean, honestly, retreat for JW is moving forward just slightly slower. Like, this guy doesn't have the word in his vocation. You know, he's just constantly getting aggro.
It's like it's like the best form of defense is attack. It's like, that's not what we meant. We didn't just mean run at them. It's like, I am interpreting the quote my own way.
35 seconds. OG still very much in this round. Make no mistake, 4 healthy players, plenty of utility, and they're starting to get overbearing on A. Molly's out. Stands to reason Fnatic know exactly what's coming up. The question now is how well can Crims and JW hold the line? JW missing the first and a perfectly placed flashbang, nullifying Crims. JW getting desperate, spinning around desperately, but does at least get one. And pulls this back into proximity. There's only 8 seconds to go. One of these remaining Ts has to just stick the plant. And in doing so, a headshot connects onto Mantu. Post-plant does fall up, but he's got 3 HP and 2 angry Swedes to contend against. Golden on one side, Flusher on the other. And he the filling of this sandwich that will be devoured on Fnatic. They draw us up even, just making sure they get all the helpings. They got an AK underneath them, but it's going to be 11 apiece.
Oh, yeah, this is starting to get a little bit ridiculous. I think out of what? So how many rounds have we now had in this second half? We're looking at what? Wow, my maths is it's left my brain completely, Vince. 3 + 4. We're looking at 7. And I'm pretty sure the bomb has gone down in every single one except 2. One of those was the pistol round. Like, these have always been after plant positions, and every single time Fnatic are just able to drag them back. My math may be bad, but I can tell that that's not a good sign for OG. Well, JW, every single round, I feel like he's just going to put more and more doubt into the minds of OG because he's taking more and more liberties. I feel like, you know that scene in Ali G where like all the bullets are just being sprayed around him. Like, he managed to no-scope someone, pick up an AK, and still survive for an extra few seconds while just dancing around the bullets. And even that time that he wasted was enough for Brolin to capitalize and his remaining teammates to get into spot. And I think that's an underrated skill in Counter-Strike. Like, we talk about your Zywus, your Simples being able to just kill everybody that they see. But staying alive for hefty amounts of time. I think it's why, for example, Fallen, when he was at his peak, was such a good AWPer. He'd land some crazy shots, but he'd also be able to reposition himself in situations where he missed. And I think JW is also another maestro of that skill.
Yeah, indeed. And his reputation precedes him because you often expect him to go aggressive, but he doesn't always. It's controlled aggression. And it seems like randomness, but it's chances based on educational guesses. But there we go. There's the other side of it. If the opposition holds angles, JW sometimes is susceptible to peek into them and gift wrap his life away. And what a crucial moment for that to end up happening. 11-11 with 20 seconds to go. Brolan holds on a little bit longer. Graveyard Smoke affords him to go back in for a little bit more. Using that smoke devastatingly well. Gets an assist on Mantu, but thinning the herd and thinning the HP bars additionally for the T's. In comes Flusher. He's taken one player down, and Issa will be joined by Valda, leaving Alexi the Finn to stand against the two Swedes. The same two players that were in the clutch last time around. Alexi goes in, the bomb's not planted for him, and that puts him in such an awkward position. It's another post-plant, Tom. You were spot on. Pistol and the 4th round, the only 2 rounds that we have yet to see the bomb plant. Other than that, it's been defusals, it's been detonations.
I'm about to make a sort of comparison that if you are a Swedish person or a Fnatic fan, you might want to close your ears. Now, I mean this as a compliment as much as humanly possible, but Fnatic are like cockroaches in the sense that they just don't die. Like, they don't die. It's like a nuke goes off and you'll still find them just lying around. Like Brolin again, he manages to get that opening pick and then just puts a smoke down and just sits in it for a few minutes. You're like, no, they should have cleared him by now. First played against Fnatic as a 15-year-old. It's one of those things where we've seen Brolin for so many years now that you almost start to think that he's like maybe like 20, 21. It's the same way that I had with Kenny S, where I was like, oh yeah, Kenny S, he must be one of the older players within his team. And then I realized that he's younger than me, and that made me feel sad.
It's how I feel about MBK as well. He's just been around for so long, but he's not pushing 30.
It's like, if I was younger, it's like, well, he's younger than you, Vince. Like, yeah, you shut your mouth.
Exactly. It's madness. But the fact that Brolan's been doing it so well since 15, like, you got to tip your hat to the guy. Clearly a crazy natural talent with a lot of hard work put on top of it. It has been pretty hard work for OG to make any moves up Banana, and that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. Golden will flash through the smoke, pivoting into action, and Alexi, he won't be in any clutches this time around. And Fnatic hit, and then they pull back and they run. And OG left in ruins again.
These rounds, they've not been clean by Fnatic, but this is how the classic Fnatic comeback always went. We've seen it for years. Like, it's never changed. It was never clean. It was never dominant. It was never one where you go, wow, like they were just destroying them. No, it's gritty. They're happy to get down in the dirt. Unfortunately for OG, they just haven't been able to match up in these situations just yet. 2 smokes is all they have remaining, and CT side have 4 players waiting around this site, but they've finally done the impossible. They've cleared Brolin cleanly, but there's plenty more players. The bomb's dropped and there's only 20 seconds left. They need to get round. Now they spotted Golden in the corner, but it doesn't matter. He still takes one with him. And sure, maybe Fnatic allow for a bomb plant, but just look at Crims. He's already making the rounds. The push is coming in onto the side. Flash is going for a knife kill. What are they doing? This is madness. But even still, they come out on top. Valde is low, and they're going to clean it up. It doesn't even matter what sort of manic display Fnatic puts on. They win round after round after round.
Flusher, my dude, there's a time and a place, and that weren't it, Chief. Imagine they lost that round. That would be inexcusable. They didn't. They still took it, but still. Jeez. Here is the play. Just run straight in. Valde deals with him, but fortunately they got the kill beforehand. With the bomb plant, OG can go back in for another buy, but Fnatic, this half, has been perfect. They lost the first 3 off the pistol. Since then, they've been unbeaten. Impenetrable defense again.
I just imagine that scene in Star Wars where it's like Obi-Wan, like, use the Force, Luke. Instead, it's like JW just appears. Like, use the knife. And then just Flusher just runs in. It doesn't work. Oh, God. Except it's weirder because JW's actually sat next to him.
I would love to have seen the cam reactions if they lost that round, though. Just imagine the death stares at Flusher. What have you done? And now OG actually only have 1 smoke left. The collective utility is starting to run a little bit dry. 2 mollies and plenty of flashbangs alongside it. But they throw in the smoke. Here come the flashes. They need the entries to facilitate the push. And Golden, who is last seen in this very position, actually gets mollied by his teammate. It tickles his toes, and that gives his position away. You can see JW come up on the kill feed. That's an awful Molotov. That's done way more harm than good. And Issa will punish them. Fnatic's economy in no place to go for this. A bit of a blunder, and OG make the most of it.
It's like it's literally like Fnatic. You know when I've mainly learned this from Banks because I do not go to the gym in case people couldn't tell from my physique. But obviously one of the methods you train is you add extra weight to sort of like bulk you down and make the exercise harder. So I think that's what Fnatic are doing. Like they've gone for knife kills. There was the round where Flusher decided to shoot at his own teammate through the smoke and assist his death. Now JW is mollied Golden out the corner. This is absolute madness. The problem is, we've finally actually seen a punish round. It's taken a long, long time for OG to get there, but they've done it. And the thing is, although we talk about your Brolins, your JWs, your Flushers, one of the players they've really struggled with clearing over the last couple of rounds has actually been Golden. And now we are going to have Fnatic taking a pause. It must be hilarious being their coach in this situation where you just go, you just not try and kill each other? Like, is that the strat? Can we go for that for a round? That's mad.
That has surprised me, I won't lie. That has surprised me.
It depends. Is that the Astralis core or is that all Astralis players? Because if anything, they should be winning because they have more players. If you sign, or they did. I guess if you sign half, because technically now S-Tag is not an Astralis player, even though he's playing for Astralis. So do you include his numbers? I've got more questions now. You've given me a stat that now has me asking more questions. I'm more confused than when I started. But either way, they haven't bought Vince.
No. They have got Flusher with the AWP, who's taken 3 nades, I believe that was, damage. Still alive on 45, but won't be able to be too aggressive. They had JW on the M4, who goes aggressively into apps looking for some information, and Deagle wielders elsewhere. So even though Fnatic certainly up against it in terms of pretty much every metric that you could foreseeably put out, they've won these rounds before. They've won these rounds multiple times on Mirage. And OG will have to still make the most of this. They cannot take this lightly at all. They will get punished. Golden smoked off. OG starting to take some control over apps and middle.
Is it bad that I still feel really worried for OG in this round? It is sort of like, I don't know. It's like watching a sibling during sports day. It's like you want them to succeed, but at the same time, you just feel like there's that mean kid who's gonna like trip them up. This time, though, it seems like they've actually managed to come out on top. JW actually just going to take the save. And considering some of the players on their side are still left with no money, this is 100% the right call. They can't afford to fight this round. OG, they've had a couple of cleaner ones. Their bank's starting to build up a little bit more, which is great to see for them. They finally managed to topple the big bad bully. Well, 13-13. I'm gonna be honest. I know that there's like people who do those sort of like in-round bets. This is the last game I would do that on because I have absolutely no idea where this is going.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. It has been up and down throughout this entire map. There are moments on Mirage where you could have said the same, but honestly, like we've had these sprees of 2 rounds here, 3 rounds there. Fnatic overall on this half have been getting a lot of victories. They got 5 or 6 in a row, but 5 of those were defusals. So even when they were getting the rounds, it's not as if they were completely shutting down OG. OG was still getting onto the site and still pressuring and asking questions of Fnatic. It just seemed that they always had the answer. That's changed the last few rounds. And if we're being honest, some of it is self-inflicted. Some of it is Fnatic making strange decisions or just poor decisions in the split second. They won't go for a buy here either. So this is really brutal. Getting towards the business end, the finish line, they decide not to go for a second buy in a row. And this should be gifting rounds, and I'm not sure how JW missed that shot. That looked like it was on, or incredibly close at least.
And they've given themselves another chance, but not, again, a full investment. JW and Flusher, well, I don't even need to say it. We know that they can do it in these sort of rounds, and with the pistols in play, Golden has had some ridiculous deagle shots already. You can almost see that things look a little bit cagey for OG. They're taking their time. Valde, he's waiting. Golden more than happy to try and take this fight. And in fact, after not really spotting too much, they're actually going to start their rotation towards A, but it might be a little bit too late. JW is going to have to go ham if there's any way they win this round. Even still, though, it's hesitant from OG. The bomb being left behind, and they're starting to regain control of Banana. But with 40 seconds left, Vince, this is a bit of a bold play with how much time's currently remaining. Whenever it's rounds like this, I almost feel like I want to see the pace changed a little bit because it's just uncomfortable to see them going with 25 seconds left.
But they've done an excellent job of faking B. And even though it's low time, JW's alone and he gets caught in the back. Crims gets a 1 deke alongside it. Exquisite play by OG. It was looking really sketchy at one point, though, Tom. I'm 100% alongside you, especially when you go against Eagles and you go into a lack of a buy and the CTs will be a little bit more aggressive in their positioning. You fear the worst for a T side walking into potential traps, but Fnatic overbit on the rotation and now get punished. They're still in this round. It's not quite over just yet, but the couple of assault rifles will need to be used perfectly if they are to facilitate their way back in again. Molotov forcing out MBK, but he will hold on, and Golden sent out of the round. OG will be taking this round. Fnatic is setting up for exit frags, and Brolan picks up the AWP from JW's body. Flusher wants to deny as many players as possible. Gets 1, that should be good enough. Doesn't do any damage to the other 2 to kill them to the bomb, but OG take the lead, and we're only a couple rounds away from them taking us to a 3rd map.
Oh, it looks like both games have now ended up on an Inferno. Different positions, of course, as G2 managed to take the 2nd map of Vertigo. So they did close it this time. I imagine that is going to have an exciting finale. And while we might get one ourselves, Vince, it is 14-13. This is only map 2. Fnatic, of course, as mentioned, they've never lost a game of Inferno to OG. A very good Inferno team, of course, are OG, but this has been their kryptonite almost. And Alexi B said it himself in an interview. He believes they're one of the top teams on this map at the moment. Crims, well placed. He almost gets 2. 1 HP is all the Finn has left remaining. Nades being expended. JW still waiting, not falling back off the angle, and they do have to be a little bit careful. because you have to look, well, first you have to look for Brolin, but also JW in an aggressive position. He's got to be careful of the apartments. Timing's going to be everything. He's gone into the smoke and Alexi B spots him. He's down and out without any impact, and Alexi B's pre-firing everything as he goes. The Molotov, if it bounces into the corner, it's going to kill him off, but it doesn't deny the plant.
Millisecond too late, Tom, and what a difference that would have made. It would have forced the two T's to move out of pit, and now they can stay there. They can call it their home. JW, I think he got killed because a nade hit him in the smoke. I'm pretty sure up until that point, they didn't realize he was in close proximity. That gave it away. And now Fnatic have to patiently wait behind the smoke. It's cleared. They need to push in together. As United Force, their economy will not afford them a buy. Issa a little bit off on the spray, but finally controls it right at the end, and there's not enough time. Flusher may very well detonate across with this bomb, but MBK takes him off beforehand. I believe Issa will die, but they don't care. OG have 2 map points.
That round came down to such minute details, but I have to admit, once I saw these two in the pit, I wasn't worried for OG. This is their CT side setup. That's MBK and Issa. Like, their crossfires have been on point throughout the CT side. 4 rounds in a row. Interestingly, 3 of them were won by a detonation, and that's not including the last one where the bomb did technically detonate. So I don't know. That must be a ridiculous stat in itself with the amount of times that the bomb's actually gone down. In fact, every single round has been going in that direction.
Love that.
I like the brackets.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a slight shot being taken at me, and it even says perhaps unsurprising. I like that one. That one was good.
And then they remove the brackets afterwards. Love that. Right, here we go. OG, can you convert one of the next 2 rounds? If so, we move to Overpass. I, for one, would welcome that sight, but Fnatic certainly would not. Alexi burning alive, down to 40, pushing ahead, up close with Fnatic, who tried to take banana control. It's a smoke behind them. They may try and push behind this. There's a smoke on their side of the wall, which is now dissipating. Golden in, gets bested by Alexi. 12 HP separating him and death. And now Flusher has the choice, forward or back, and he decides to go back to the site and wait for Crims to arrive.
It almost feels like he has to in this situation, and for remaining CT side, we've already seen them with a weaker purchase, a lot of utility being expended in that banana battle, and ultimately it's been lost. The only thing really going in their favor at the moment is the time. They're down to 45 seconds. We know that OG are more than happy to play into the late round. In fact, the last few, the bomb has gone down with seconds to spare. Even a second before Alexi B died in the last one. This hold, though, there's very little in terms of utility. In fact, there's barely anything at all. Nothing for them to try and defend.
It looks unlikely, but for Fnatic, so many times impossible has been nothing. Crims gets 1, baiting him into a false sense of security, and Flusher carving a path through Issa, but then gets silenced by NBK. He did a lot of damage, but they're not expecting Alexi up close to getting 1. Will be traded out by JW, but now they know exactly where he is. However, JW was an absolute monster on Mirage, has an incendiary. Does he guess correctly? Does he get a chance to even use it? No, NBK with a dry peek. That will be OG taking us to a 3rd. It will be Overpass, Tom. It could be a great game.
Yeah, I'm sure they're sweating after that one, but as said, the trend has been broken. They've never beaten them on that map before when they needed it most. They've managed to pull it through, so real props have to go to OG. Also to just keep the mental state after losing so many retakes to Fnatic in a row. I think it was 5 in a row and 6 rounds in total. They do manage to turn the tide. Now, Vince, I'm going to stop us talking right now because I imagine that the desk have an awful lot to break down from that match. So let's throw it over to a short break. We'll be back with them and probably some magical rounds to see once more.